true story. It happened to 4 people just like us in these very woods. Just like us, that is, until they saw a strange light in the sky.
Michael, aliens? Really?
Don't ruin it if you've heard it. Until they saw a mysterious light in the sky and aliens abducted them and did butt stuff to them.
There it is.
And no one ever saw them again.
Yeah. What is it about campfires that make us want to tell ghost stories?
No, Dan. You're not roping us into a meta conversation about scary stories.
You're the one that made it meta with the genre guidelines.
I was trying to define the type of scary story that we should be telling, not starting some lame dissection on what makes a scary story scary.
What's your scariest scary story? That's how you could have worded that, if you wanted to. Do you guys think Leatherface knows he's a bad guy? Or is cutting up hippies just like working for his dad's law firm for him, like part of the family business?
He's probably just happy to be putting food on the table.
See, I always assume the monsters know that they're jerks. I mean, you can't put on a costume and go around terrorizing innocent people and still think you're the hero, right?
What up, Bojos? Scored us all a stomachache from some stupid kid who was fleeing me. Soren.
I want to apologize for forcing you into this conversation.
Thank you.
I can't.
But the point of vampirism isn't coming to terms with the awkwardness of sex. It's about escaping it. I mean, what's the most valuable power that a vampire could offer a teenager?
Flight and a great complexion.
Strength and dexterity. 2 cardinal D&D traits.
I'm gonna stick with the blood sex.
It's immortality. I mean, think about puberty. You went through these just awful changes, and you gained all these responsibilities and weight.
Bullshit you did.
No, not me. You. You all. I said you.
Got it.
Imagine that you could suddenly just stay young forever. All those problems that you had, they just disappear. No more responsibility, no more weird body smells, no more growing old. You can just be a young, cool, flying outcast forever. It's like Neverland, except if the Lost Boys sucked Wendy's blood.
I said I didn't want to talk about Twilight. Dracula, Nosferatu, the vampire, those are vampires, and I will discuss those vampires dusk till dawn. It was not intentional.
Dan, you can't pretend that modern vampires don't exist. Aren't you the least bit curious why they disappeared from horror movies and started appearing in teen dramas?
No.
Because, Daniel, at some point we stopped wanting to slay vampires and started wanting to, you know, brush our fingers across their glimmering torsos until our tender womanhood aches with the temptation. It!
Help us out.
From it follows it.
The STD monster that takes the form of a person slowly walking towards you and then f***s you to death unless you have sex with someone, and then it follows them until they have sex with someone else, or it kills them by f***ing them to death and then it follows you again?
Yes, yeah, that one, yeah.
Help us out more.
2 words, as many syllables as I know. Sex assassin.
Michael, you're not suggesting that you would become a professional assassin just to have sex with your target so they would get killed by a monster that would f them to death just so you can keep doing that over? Yeah, you are suggesting that. That's what you're doing, huh?
So the upside of this curse is that you get to kill people for money.
Or bang people on death row, I don't know. Look, I'm horny and I want to see the world.
So dick explosions aside, Freddy Krueger's got...
Zombies.
Aww.
Zombies haven't been scary since they became the default shotgun fodder for first-person shooters.
That's because it's not manifesting as fear anymore, it's hatred. What do we do to zombies?
Removing the head or
Remove the head, destroy the brain.
Destroy the brain.
Distract Brian.
Yeah, we exterminate them, we obliterate them. We hate zombies. We hate them because they're us. They're human beings, but with all the stuff that makes us so great removed. Emotion, intellect, empathy, bitch and tans. I mean, we see a zombie and we think, Jesus Christ, is that all I am? Just a wandering, festering bag of meat?
Well, I think we all know what Jesus Christ would do. I'm fine.
We don't want to face the awful realization that we might just be these monstrous balls of hunger and lust. That's what makes zombies such handy fill-ins for our enemies. They're like us, but they're not actually us. In Night of the Living Dead, Romero Zombies represented communism. In Dawn of the Dead, they represented the mindless consumer. Whoever the antagonist of today is, that's who we hate, and that's who becomes the zombie.
Ha! A zombie bin Laden.
It's about fear, not hate.
Yeah, but where do you think hate comes from? I mean, we start out feeling afraid of something, and then that fear makes us feel weak, and then that weakness makes us angry, and then we start to hate.
Recently watched Star Wars, someone.
So, we all see why Aliens wins this argument, right?
No, see, this wasn't actually a competition where the winner is decided by who shouts their answer out the loudest and at the most inappropriate times. I could see why you'd be confused.
I mean, the stuff you just said. Cultural inhumanity. Aliens are our punishment. I mean, come on, no one's scared of movie monsters anymore. The local news doesn't report on vampire sightings. They report on mysterious lights in the sky. Because in the back of our minds, deep down, aliens are the urban legend that we're still most worried about. I mean, when Hollywood has to gamble $1 billion on a blockbuster movie, who's the bad guy? Aliens.
Yeah, and vampires are the love interests.
We're obsessed with alien movies because they remind us that every culture eventually gets exterminated by some unthinking, unfeeling, technologically superior force. No matter how big you get, some other species just comes along and crushes you like ants.
Godzilla.
Yes, we all become the ant people in Japanese monster movies. Because the Japanese learned in World War II that is the worst way to be dehumanized.
Oh, what you're saying is monsters and ghosts are where we put our fears from the past. And then sci-fi is where we place our fears of the future.
Ghosts and wilderness still fill us with dread because they remind us that we've done wrong. And when that technologically advanced alien race does come, inevitably, shut up, Dan, we're gonna deserve every awful thing that they do to us. In the butt!
Go back and rewatch Love Actually. Everybody in that movie acts like a wolfish maniac. There's an English waiter who goes to the middle of America just to try and find some strangers to f***. There's a guy who videotapes his best friend's bride for his own collection and has never really spoken to her before. Colin Firth flies to France to go find his housekeeper and propose to her after he saw her naked in a swamp.
Don't forget Liam Neeson. Makes his 10-year-old son break through security at a jumpy post-9/11 airport. What's this have to do with horror?
Everything that everybody does in that movie is terrifying, crazy, and irrational, especially if you imagine it as a one-sided act. Imagine a guy comes to your house in the middle of the night with these hobo love cards. I mean, that's Cape Fear behavior 99% of the time. And the most haunting part is that nobody seems creeped out by any of this. It's like there's some sort of brain-eating virus that's sucking away at their danger sensors. The love in Love Actually is actually a plague. These aren't a bunch of different vignettes that we're watching. This is a story about an outbreak moving from one person to another and fundamentally changing human behavior.
Lovely.
You know, in the original script, Rowan Atkinson was supposed to be like a angel just tugging at the heartstrings of all these people, just shitting on their free will for fun. What gives him the right? What the gives him the right?
So you've seen Love Actually like a bunch, huh?
American scary stories have to happen on the outsides of civilization. The woods, the farms, the burbs. The car breaks down on a remote country road. The maniac with the machete, he stalks people around a secluded wooded campground.
Friday the 13th, 8, Jason took Manhattan.
Did you see that movie? No, you didn't. It took place on a boat. Almost entirely took place on a cruise ship. Speak on that.
Okay, so the whole curse in the ring is that once you watch Samara's video, you have to get someone else to watch it within 7 days, or else you'll die horribly, right?
I mean, not to death horribly, but still bad, yeah.
Okay, all Samara wants is for people to know her story. Once everybody in the world sees the video, then the curse is broken. So just change your article into a video, slap a disclaimer on the front of it saying, hey, this is a ring type situation, you have to show this video to someone else, or else you're gonna die terribly, etc., etc. And then once they know that the curse is real, YouTube will take off with that and you'll have 7 billion views before you can say no raisins.
This is a bad diner, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't want to make a fuss, but there are raisins in my burger.
Why do we come here then?
Poltergeist, The Ring, that Slipknot dude from Sinister, they rely on the living seeing their mumblecore death films. They're like goth art students.
Oh, they're exactly like goth art students. They even use old film formats.
Right? Those characters have to go out of their way to get cursed in those films. Like the new Ring movie starts with a college professor digging up that old VHS and purposefully spreading it. In Sinister, Ethan Hawke is investigating the family that lived in the house, prompting him to see those old attic reels. There's nothing formidable about a spooky curse that has the same prerequisite as Nana's home movies.
And Alien is all about terror sex. Think about it. How does it start? Big, tough space guys are out doing big, tough space shit until they interact with some eggs, the universal symbol of human reproduction. And then what happens? Boom! Facehugger. Which, incidentally, looks like a human vagina sewed onto a spider. It latches onto Tough McSpace Guy's skull and immediately starts ramming its cylindrical meat tube down his throat. If this transsexual arachnogina is separated forcefully, the victim is killed. Basically, the textbook definition of a rapist. And the victim leaves unwittingly nurturing the rapist's child, and in the ultimate emasculation is forced to give violent chest birth to the thing's kid. So, to recap, a space vagina rapes its baby into you, which then rapes its way out of you. Double rape!
The Lost Boys.
One of the first vampire teen movies, and they got it exactly right. It's just taking reckless youth to its logical conclusion. Fang nocturnal monsters.
But that stuff doesn't matter like it used to. It's been a notoriously bad decade for bullies. I mean, Twilight should have been popular in the 80s or 90s, but not now.
Maybe it's not just about popularity and puberty.
Pops and pubes.
Pops and pubes, thank you. Maybe the future looks bleak to these kids for bigger reasons.
Right! You didn't let me explain how vampirism is like syphilis.
No, Jesus, no. I mean, this is a whole generation of teenagers who spent their entire lives hearing about how terrible humanity is for the Earth. The world is going to end very soon, and it's all our fault because we took advantage of it. In every series, vampires just want to peacefully coexist and fit in, but just by existing, they destroy. Suddenly, all of these guilt-ridden teenagers stop running away from vampires and they start to sympathize with them.
How vampironic. Sucks to be them. All right, you know what? I'm out of here. You three grown men have fun discussing Twilight. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, okay, but no one makes scary movies about, like, wolves or bears. You know, when you hear a twig snap out in the darkness, you're not worried about nature. You're worried about some, like, axe-wielding lunatic. I mean, every one of those car-related scary stories you just told involves the same radio broadcast. It's all, this just in, some crazy psycho just escaped from an insane asylum. Also, on an unrelated note, you know, there's been a break-in at the axe factory. But an armed lunatic is just as scary as a bear. We just fear it more because we fear what we can't control. All right, Soren.
Sixth Sense. So, the kid can see dead people, right?
Whoa! Spoilers! It's okay, I've seen it.
Same.
So, in The Sixth Sense, Cole Sear, yes, his last name is Sear, can see dead people. I see dead people. And then we find out that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time, and so on. Now, if you could, spoilers, see dead people, you could talk to them, you can communicate, you can help them with their unfinished business. That's doing a service for the deceased, and you can make a little extra for yourself on the side, because some of those dead people, you gotta figure, have stuff to give you.
Oh, totally. I bet for every 10th death you avenge or relationship you fix, you know there's gonna be some corpsey schmuck with a shoebox full of cash or a secret horse you can have.
What?
And I would use that, I'd sell the horse, and I would use that money to pay for these meals, to perpetuate our pop culture conversations. They're, all I have.
Okay, not to squash my dreams of you paying for all of my future food that will probably have raisins in it, but the Sixth Sense isn't really a curse, is it? It's just like a crappy ability that some breathy kid has. It's a sense. The only thing that cursed him is biology.
And you'd have to talk to all those people. You see that, right? All the ghosts? You can barely talk to the waitress who's been here 3 years.
It's not true. So, people, huh?
You'd have to talk to them.
Somebody else go.
Or get weed. Ghosts hate weed.
Yeah, he's right. Ghosts like Freddy Krueger and Pennywise rely on your nightmares. Weed can literally suppress REM sleep.
It also gets you high.
The scariest monster is no monster. Think about it. What's the point in every monster movie where it starts to lose the scary right before the end, right when they finally actually show you the monster full on?
It's the horror money shot. And, just like porn, it all gets a lot less interesting as soon as the climax hits.
Have we ever not been sitting around at a diner making pop culture observations and analyses forever?
Okay, look, we don't have to get into a thing.
Oh, look around you, Soren. We are in a thing. This is us in a thing.
Look, we don't have to get into a thing.
Look around you, Soren. We are in a thing. This is us in a thing. Look around you, Soren. We are in a thing. This is us in a thing.
Do you think she heard me say no raisins? I mean, she didn't write it down.
What are we talking about?
Back to the
I'm
future.
allergic to raisins.
Huh. We've changed so much.
I haven't.
That was like 5 to 7 hairdos ago for me.
Is it wrong of me that rather than be in this eternal pop culture diner, I'd like to be to death?